Hello, this is InferiorPickle in person, and this is...
Art on Arms, hello there.
Hello, I'm in person, and so is Art on Arms. He has a channel in the down there. I am probably not gonna put it in, but I'm just saying that because I can. So Art on Arms, what are we gonna do today?
Well, despite the Skype lag, we are going to attempt to discuss the current world definition of what a nation state is and how to gain acceptance as a nation state. Before we actually start this discussion, can we mention how countries are typically defined nowadays?
Countries are typically defined when they have
just jump straight in.
Stability, because right now ISIS is countries are defined when they're stable enough to have borders, a government, to have a working government. That is, also that doesn't seem to apply for some countries. USA.
Okay, well, I disagree with that definition. I disagree. I so disagree with that, mate.
It's when you have enough political stability and enough of a presence diplomatically that other countries recognize you as being a sovereign state and an actual country thing that has borders.
Yes, I definitely agree with that final part. Maybe not the part on the USA. Yeah. So the current there's like a few definitions of guidelines. Is right. The first is the United Nations. If they're a member of the United Nations, they're essentially a country. The second is whether other countries accept them to be countries. Now, both of these have issues. For example, like the Vatican City, which is generally accepted as a country, isn't in the United States member states, United Nations. Sorry. And then like countries like currently like Israel, like with Israeli-Palestinian conflict, right? Lots of countries aren't recognizing them as countries, and same with other countries like Kosovo, for example. CTP Grey and Wonder Why on YouTube have made great channels. Plug down there in my path. So yeah, those are the two main definitions. But what we want to develop is a new definition. We can edit this out, right?
Yeah.
I like how when we laugh, our eyes disappear.
I'm gonna put that in. Anyway, nation states.
Yes. Okay, so what I found interesting was you, Mr. Inferior Pickle, that you brought up how nations should have clear defined borders and what else did you say? Like a stable government that's in control of all of its people. Well, see, there's so many issues with all of these definitions, and this comes back to the classic topic of definition. Like, for example, there's no definition for continents. We have continents, and then we define the continents based on the continents. It's the same with countries. Like, you can't say have definitive borders. Like say in the Gaza conflict right now, they don't have definitive borders there either. It's confusing. It's stupid. There's no definition, which is why we can't reach something. Which is why we're trying to work back a definition from what we have, which is ridiculous.
You're like all pixelated, and you just became a blur of white for a second there. Your nose is like flat. You're like Voldemort right now.
I killed your parents, Harry.
Those are my parents. Okay, the thing about defined borders is that, well, it by defined I mean like not specifically like USA kind of have an exclusion zone which goes like right through lakes for some reason and like cuts through a peninsula. So like the only way to get to like this part of USA, which looks like a dick, is to cross the strait.
Wait, let's just explain that to the audience and the viewers. At our current school, there's a project going on called Multicultural Day, and Alaska was drawn to look like a giant penis.
There was also no Denmark. I find that personally insulting, because Denmark also looks like a giant dick.
Oh my god, Denmark looks like a phallic object.
I feel like I'm making too many racial stereotypes right now.
Okay, yes, continuing on.
Anyway, it doesn't have to have clear defined borders, right? It just has to have borders that kinda end somewhere. Because if you look at the geographical map, right? You see these things called borders. And if a country stops governing from a particular area, you can't really say that that's part of that country because they have no control over that area. And if it's anarchy, then it's just gonna be this black blotch on the map that nobody owns. But if it's a nation state, then what it has to have is some sort of governing power to control the anarchy.
I agree. I agree. But what you're confusing me with is well, it's the point of clear defined borders. It's how nation states have international correspondence. It's how like multiple different countries can decide and agree on borders. That's what makes countries. That's what makes nation states. Like without that, then and there is anarchy, or if they're struggling to control it, then yes, that shouldn't be classified as part of the nation state. It's just a place of anarchy, and then like all of that exclusion zone and stuff. That brings upon other questions like coastal waters and international waters, and other things like that.
Yeah, usually waters, they're like a completely different thing. It's like, guys, we're diplomatically stealing all of this water and claiming it for America because we have lands here. The ownership of water is usually based on the ownership of land in the water, right? So it's kind of like a thing where it's like, because there's no clear defined area where just like we're on the boat, guys, we've just gone from international waters to like American waters, we don't have a passport, it's illegal. Like you can't really do that. So water borders are just like, I'm gonna throw this out there, they're pretty much completely bullshit unless you go like 100 kilometers into the border and you like see the land and you're like, hey, this is America. Shit.
Well, I get what you mean, but that coastal water and international water boundary, that can apply with regular land borders as well. As in that, if you don't, it's the only reason borders exist is because power extends to certain regions, and that's the exact same with like American waters and coastal waters and international waters.
Yeah, the problem with borders is that I've read this book, I have it here somewhere.
As you can see, viewers, in the background you can clearly see a half-open closet with all the available school uniforms, cadet uniforms, a whole heap of hats. Oh my gosh, how many hats does he have? And in the other side, you can see, I'm sorry, I can't point here because it's like a mirrored Skype image. You can see a booklet, a half-open booklet holding music.
Well, I read this book called The Next 100 Years.
Oh, George Friedman.
George Friedman. I love
Friedman.
his name because it's like
Friedman.
Fried Man. And he's George. The next 100 years. The forecast for the 21st century. So in this book he talks about borders and borderlands and how culture is a very important defining factor of borders. Because if you think about it, if I'm French and I go over to Germany, and if there's a French majority and there's a very small German minority, then wouldn't that make it French land?
I have a big opinion on this, which is that theoretically, yes, that should be French land because it's culturally like French ruled. But the thing is, it's not, because that's not what borders. That's what borders are supposed to be, like cultural boundaries. But that's not what they are, because borders have ended up being power boundaries. Because even if there's a section of Germany, like it's Ukraine, Crimea, Russia issue. Crimea was mostly Russian people and people who wanted to be a part of Russia, but they were part of the Ukraine. It's just that Ukraine still had power over them, even though they were Russian people. So like you can't. That book talks about borders as the theoretical purpose for borders, but that's not what real borders are. That's not how it practically works out.
Yeah. So I guess nowadays it's very strange because you see people going all over the place, and you think about Australia, right? And you see the line of congestion on a Monday morning down the M2, and you see like random people in random cars, and it's actually it restores faith in humanity to see people of every race just sitting in the cars. Like it's it's actually quite enlightening, I guess, because you see everyone, and it's like, yeah.
I think that's a great wrap up. No, I think this is a great wrap up to the video, which is that borders really practically they're decided by power, but in theoretical and in the perfect world terms, they should be defined by culture. But in reality, it doesn't matter because in Australia, when you're on a busy highway in the M2 and it's completely congested, you can see the multiculturalism, and that's a perfect spot to end our video. Here, right here, multiculturalism stems from a lack of borders and when countries and cultures collide.
Okay, so this was InferiorPickle, that was Autonoms, and I'll see you some other random time. Bye.